I'm in the Apollo space hatch. I just don't know how to get out. Help!
Well, before we return to that little gem, and clearly you did make it out alive because you were still here.
I did.
We're going to take you back to the beginning of our day. We disembarked a Disney cruise at Port Canaveral and had an evening flight from MCO to London. So we thought we would go to Kennedy Space Center for the day, as it's not far from Port Canaveral.
We'll show you all through Spaceport USA, as it used to be called, Kennedy Space Center. And if you stick around to the end, I get to eat this. Yes, it's freeze-dried ice cream, fulfilling a childhood dream, which I'll get to later in the vlog. Let's go. We'd started our journey from Port Canaveral by minibus to the Avis rent-a-car, and then picking up a rent-a-car, we drove to Port Canaveral.
The question on our minds was, how long would it take us to look around Kennedy Space Center? Would it be something that was done really quickly and we would have time to kill before the airport? Or would we run out of time and wouldn't get to see everything before we had to leave?
The drive from Port Canaveral to Kennedy Space Center was quick enough, about 20 minutes, and the drive from Kennedy Space Center to Orlando International Airport is only about 45 minutes, so it's ideally located.
Parking at the Kennedy Space Center is $10 a day for cars, which we thought was okay as there were cameras everywhere and we felt quite safe leaving our luggage in the car.
That's not our car, obviously. That's the Space Shuttle Atlantis, if I'm not mistaken, or a replica of it. The car park or parking lot is quite close to the entrance, so it's easily walkable and easily accessible.
Current prices on the website say it is $75 per adult for a one-day admission ticket. We did, however, book through attractiontickets.com and we paid £54 each, and this included a quick serve meal up to the value of $15.
At the time of recording, £54 is about 70 US dollars, and we got a really good deal. There are deals on various websites, both in the US and in the UK, if you look hard enough. As you enter Kennedy Space Center through the turnstiles, you're first greeted by the Rocket Garden, which we'll get to later in the vlog, as well as the Heroes and Legends section, which again, we'll get to a little bit later on.
On arrival, we were given paper maps, which made it really easy to find our way around. I'm not sure if they have one on an app. They might do. We were happy with the paper ones, and we made our way to the bus tour. Now this gets busy as the day goes on, so we thought we'd best do it first of all. The buses are included in the entrance fee and they take you out to the launch site, or as near to the launch site as you can get. And this is where the Apollo and Saturn V Centre is, so it's a very historical, important part of the centre.
The buses do run throughout the day, but as Beth said, they get rather busy as the day goes on, so get there as early as you can. You can also get a photo as you come in. Actually, they do it without you asking, but you can purchase that a bit later on should you wish.
My only real complaint with the entire day is that sometimes you're waiting quite a while for films to start, especially if you've just missed the previous one. They're really great when you're in, they're very interesting, and obviously there's lots of history and information. But if you've missed one, you could be waiting 10, 15, 20 minutes before the next showing. And once we got off the bus, I'd say we were probably waiting about 15 minutes before it actually started.
But as Beth said, once the films start, they're a different story. This one at the Apollo Center was more about the 1960s and kind of puts you back in time to get you ready for what was to come. And what was to come was this. Yes, you were actually sitting in mission control for an Apollo launch. Now, obviously, you weren't back in the 1960s for an Apollo launch, but it was set up exactly as it was back in those days. And what you did was experience that, not just on screen, but all around you in 4D, as closely to real life as possible.
Yes, the countdown's done in real time. It's quite fun, although I imagine if you've got younger children, they may get a little bit bored if they don't have any knowledge about space and exploration.
Once you come out of the Apollo Mission Control launch experience, you get to see an actual Apollo rocket and get a sense of the size of some of this equipment and the scope of the Apollo program. It's really quite something to see in person. You can even kind of ask questions to a real Apollo astronaut. Well, a hologram of one anyway.
They do actually have opportunities for you to meet and speak to real astronauts, though. You can even have lunch with them. All the info and booking information for that will be on the Kennedy Space Center visitors site.
Next to the rockets, there was even the astronaut transport from the Apollo missions, where they actually took the astronauts to the launch pad. Really cool. And after this was the Apollo 1 tribute to the brave men who gave their lives for the space program.
Everywhere you look at Kennedy Space Center, there is something to see. We really can't describe it all here, but hopefully some of the footage does it justice.
Earlier in the video, you saw me trapped or stuck in an Apollo 1 replica capsule, and it really is tight in there. I don't know how they did it.
We then went outside where there's a few picnic tables if you wanted to eat. There's also a viewing area. There's some bleachers where people can watch the launches that are happening across the water. Really interesting. And we saw a snake.
Yes, this is just one of many bleachers that are set up along the water at Kennedy Space Center. Those are really only open on launch days, according to our guide on the bus, but this one is there for you to take in the views and, if you're lucky enough, catch a launch yourself. There is a schedule of launches on the Kennedy Space Center website, and you could coincide your trip with a launch, but it's probably going to be busy during that time.
It was then time for us to take the bus back to the main part of the Space Center. So it was back on the coach. And look at the floor. How cool is that? That's the floor of the bus. It looks like the moon. On the way back, we passed various other spots where you can watch launches. And we also came across the Shuttle Building, which is by volume, I believe, the largest building in the United States.
Or one of them anyway, up there with the Tesla plant in Texas. At this point, we were getting quite hungry, and it was time to start looking for things to eat. They do have the Orbit Cafe, which is right in the center of the main part of the Kennedy Space Center. I actually bought this, the freeze-dried ice cream sandwich in a gift shop next door. Now, let me explain. When I was young, I grew up in the Midwest, and in the medium-sized city in which I grew up, there was a natural history museum, which wasn't very big, but we all got taken to it every year in elementary school. And every year, the kids would have pocket money from their parents to buy something from the gift shop. Well, I never got any money from my parents. They weren't being mean or tight, they just didn't give me any money for that. So I used to watch the kids in my class buy freeze-dried ice cream. I don't know why they had it at a natural history museum. Freeze-dried ice cream from the shop, and I never got to taste it. But I will at the end of this vlog, if you just stick around. I certainly can't wait for it.
We used our included lunch vouchers at the Space Bowl Bistro, which was a slightly healthier alternative to the burgers and fries at some of the other cafes. It was really good. You got to choose your protein, your choice of noodles or quinoa, whatever you fancied really. It was really delicious. We really enjoyed it, and it was good value, and we were able to use our vouchers, so even better.
What better thing to do once you've eaten all that food than go on a flight simulator? So within that building, the Gateway building, there is a ride, one of several at Kennedy Space Center. And as you approach it, you see that there are actually 4 different levels of the ride. There's 4 different intensities for younger kids, older kids, and those who maybe just to be a bit squeamish like us. So we actually opted for the green option, the lighter ride, which actually had a much shorter queue than the rest.
The length of the line was the main reason we chose this particular ride, although to be perfectly honest, it probably wasn't a bad idea after we'd just eaten.
The green version of this ride is called Daring Explorers, or Uncharted Worlds, depending on which sign you're looking at, and again, the queue was quite short. We didn't really know what to expect as we went in. We were kind of hoping it would be a tame flight simulator. In the end, we were pleasantly surprised. Although they do ask you to buckle up and to remove your footwear unless you're wearing laced sneakers or shoes, it's not actually that bumpy on the green version. It's actually quite tame.
As it was late October and we were due to fly back to the UK, we wanted to make the most of the Florida sunshine, so we decided to head outside and explore the rocket garden.
The rocket garden is, well, just what it sounds like. A bunch of rockets in a big expansive yard. It is quite cool. There are ones that you can climb into, like the Apollo spacecraft. You can try it out for yourself. As you know, that didn't go particularly well for me. But if you just want to walk around and look at some of the rockets from the space program and read some of the signs, it's quite good. Our eldest son gave a go at one of the capsules and had a similar problem to his old man. Must be something in the genes.
I think this is definitely something from your side of the family, Tony, not mine.
Next to the rocket garden and near the entrance to the Kennedy Space Center is the Heroes and Legends section, which is the Astronaut Hall of Fame. This is not just a tribute to the fallen astronauts from the space program, although it is. It's a tribute to all of the astronauts, past and present, and a little tip of the hat to the future of the space program as well.
By this point, it was later in the day, and we decided to check out the Atlantis Space Shuttle exhibit. This is the generation that Tony and I belong to. We remember the Space Shuttle launches, as I'm sure many of you do. So it was really important for us to see this particular part of the centre.
And to take our kids, who, it's hard to believe, were born outside of the Space Shuttle program's time frame. There is a short intro film which is immersive and wrapped all around you once it starts. What we didn't realize is that the screen during the shuttle launch flies away and you are faced with the actual Space Shuttle Atlantis, not a replica, the actual thing, which is right in front of you. It's quite moving. Seeing a space shuttle close up for the first time in my life was quite an experience. I always thought as a kid that they were shiny and slick and futuristic, and actually close up, they're a little bit thrown together and a little bit slapdash. Obviously, NASA has to think about weight and durability and reusability with the space shuttle program, so there's a lot to consider, but I was really taken aback by how not slick the space shuttle is close up. Once we were down the ramps and underneath the Space Shuttle Atlantis, we came across our last stop of the day, which was the tribute to the crew of the Space Shuttle Columbia and the Space Shuttle Challenger. Overall, we had a fantastic day at Kennedy Space Center, and is it time?
Go on then.
Right, here we go. Freeze-dried astronaut ice cream. I've been waiting months to do this.
No, years to do this.
Well, yeah, years.
You said this is a childhood dream.
Right, so as you can see, this is a Neapolitan ice cream sandwich from Kennedy Space Center. Thank you, Beth. It is completely freeze-dried. It is not cold. That's why it lasted on the plane. And it's broken a little bit because, well, it's been a while. So here we go. I think I'll start with the strawberry end. Right, so here we go with the... It's going everywhere. It's absolutely dust everywhere. Okay, here we go. Oh God.
This sounds dreadful.
It's so hard.
Is it cold?
No, of course not cold.
Well, it's not an ice cream then, is it?
Well, it melts in your mouth, and then once it's melted, it gets the creaminess of ice cream. Definitely strawberry ice cream. What I miss in a real ice cream sandwich, or a cold ice cream sandwich, is the wafer part, which is one of my favorite parts. It's less than...
If you're British, it looks like a bourbon cream.
Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is, a really soft one. Right, here's the vanilla part. That's bad. That's bad. And then a piece of chocolate. Right. The question is, was it worth 40 years waiting? The answer is No. Oh well. We'll
See you next time.